South Africa's public hospitals are collapsing, with patients forced to sleep on cold floors, clinics running out of basic medicines, and doctors struggling to work without essential supplies. Yet, behind this suffering, billions of rand were quietly siphoned away to fund one man's empire of Lamborghinis, seaside mansions, and designer art. This isn't a fictional tale of greed, it's the real story of Hangwani Maumela, an alleged tender kingpin at the center of the R2 billion Tembisa Hospital corruption scandal. This week, after months of investigation, the Special Investigating Unit, SIU, finally moved in. On Thursday morning, in Sandhurst, one of Johannesburg's wealthiest and most guarded suburbs, a convoy of black SUVs rolled down a quiet street lined with palm trees and marble driveways. Inside the vehicles were SIU officials and police officers armed with warrants to raid a mansion that looked more like a European embassy than a private home. Their target was businessman Hangwani Maumela, whose name had become synonymous with luxury and corruption. For months, investigators had been tracing the flow of money from Tembisa Hospital into a maze of shell companies, fraudulent tenders, and offshore accounts, all allegedly leading back to him. When the operation began, locksmiths broke open designer safes inside the mansion while moving trucks were filled with luxury cars, high-end furniture, and artwork worth millions of rand. Among the seized vehicles were Lamborghinis, Bentleys, and other supercars that stood as symbols of excess purchased with funds meant for healthcare. SIU spokesperson Kaiser Mothebi confirmed that the operation was linked to the Tembisa Hospital investigation, stating that more details would be released once legal processes were finalized. To understand how such an audacious scheme unfolded, one must look closely at Tembisa Hospital itself. For years, it has served as one of Gauteng's busiest yet most underfunded hospitals, struggling to meet the needs of thousands of patients daily. Behind its overcrowded wards, 3 organized criminal networks allegedly infiltrated the hospital's procurement systems, systematically looting its budget through fake suppliers and fraudulent invoices. According to the SIU's interim report, nearly R2 billion in hospital funds have been traced through manipulated procurement deals. Investigators reviewed more than 1,700 tender bundles worth over R816 million, and almost every one showed serious irregularities. The money trail revealed that payments flowed from the hospital's official accounts into front companies, businesses that existed only on paper, and from the into conduit accounts controlled by associates of Maumela. These funds were then laundered through property deals, trust accounts, and luxury purchases, all designed to disguise the origin of the money. As one investigator summarized it, Tembisa Hospital's public funds had been turned into a personal cash machine, fueling lavish lifestyles and the acquisition of extravagant assets. The scale of this opulence is staggering. According to the SIU, Maumela's property portfolio alone is valued at roughly R293 million. It includes a Bantry Bay mansion on Cape Town's Atlantic seaboard worth about R75 million, a luxury estate in Port Simbali, and multiple properties in Johannesburg's elite neighborhoods of Sandhurst and Hurlingham, collectively worth over R150 million. His fleet of cars, estimated at R223 million, reportedly includes several Lamborghinis, multiple Bentleys, a luxury yacht, and other high-end vehicles that could rival collections owned by the world's wealthiest elites. Meanwhile, back at Tembisa Hospital, doctors were forced to reuse disposable gloves, families brought their own bed linen, and wards ran out of oxygen. In some cases, patients died waiting for equipment that never arrived, all while millions were being channeled into luxury estates and designer art. This was not just financial corruption, it was moral decay on an institutional level, where the suffering of the poor became a business opportunity for the powerful. The most disturbing question, however, is not how much was stolen, but how it went on for so long. How could billions vanish from a single hospital's budget without triggering alarms within the Department of Health, the Gauteng Treasury, or national oversight bodies? The SIU's findings suggest that Maumela was not acting alone. Instead, he was part of a far-reaching network that extended deep into the public sector. Procurement officers, accountants, and even hospital administrators allegedly played key roles by approving and processing fake tenders, signing off inflated invoices, and ensuring that fraudulent payments were disguised as legitimate. Each stage of the three-quote system, the supposedly transparent process for awarding contracts, was riddled with manipulation and complicity. This was not the work of a lone thief but a well-oiled machine designed to exploit systemic weaknesses in government oversight. The deeper investigators dug, the clearer it became that Maumela was the key beneficiary, not necessarily the mastermind. Behind him, there may be politicians, senior officials, and business associates who helped facilitate the theft and shared in the spoils. The raid on Maumela's Sandhurst mansion has sent shockwaves through political and business circles. The African Transformation Movement publicly praised the SIU for taking long overdue action against entrenched looting networks. Yet, as the dust settles, many South Africans are asking the same question: where are the others? Why have no senior officials been arrested or suspended despite overwhelming evidence of systemic corruption? The silence from those who oversaw Tembisa Hospital's finances for years is deafening. Every signature on a payment order, every rubber-stamped invoice, represents an individual who either looked the other way or directly participated in the scheme. This was not random theft, it was institutional failure, enabled by a culture of impunity that has allowed corruption to flourish in South Africa's public sector for decades. For many citizens, the images of confiscated Lamborghinis and luxury mansions are not signs of justice but symbols of a nation where accountability often stops at the headlines. The SIU has already identified more than $520 million in assets linked to Maumela's network, with more being traced as investigations continue. Yet, South Africans have seen this play out before: dramatic raids, seized cars, bold promises of justice, and then silence. Cases fade, prosecutions stall, and the accused often walk free, protected by political connections and bureaucratic inertia. The question now is whether this case will break that cycle or simply become another entry in the long list of corruption scandals that never reach conclusion. What makes this story particularly painful is its human cost. Corruption in healthcare is not an abstract crime, it kills people. Every rand stolen from Tembisa Hospital could have funded life-saving medication, repaired broken machines, or hired desperately needed nurses. Instead, that money was used to buy sports cars and beachfront villas. The result is a healthcare system on the brink of collapse, hospitals where doctors strike for basic equipment, ambulances fail to arrive, and patients die waiting for treatment that should have been available. The moral outrage lies not only in the theft of money but in the theft of dignity, trust, and life itself. In a nation still grappling with inequality and unemployment, stories like this reinforce a painful truth.